Hey, this is Gina Grad.
Hi, this is Teresa Strasser.
Hi, everyone. This is Mike Errico.
Hey there. This is Casey Cavalier.
I'm Rocky Rose.
And you are listening to The Jay Franze Show.
Lucky you.
Welcome to The Jay Franze Show. A behind-the-curtain look at the entertainment industry with insights you can't pay for and stories you've never heard. Now, here's your host, Jay Franze.
Well, hello there, and welcome to the show. I am Jay Franze, and this is your backstage pass to the entertainment industry. This week, we get to talk with a country music recording artist. We get to talk with Presley Tennant. We'll talk to her about her time on The Voice, what it was like performing in Vegas with Kelly Clarkson, and we'll discuss the production process for a new single, 600 Miles. Now, Presley is not only an amazing artist, but she's been developing a new genre of country music called California Country, and I can't wait to talk to her about it tonight. So if you'd like to join in, comment, or fire off any questions, please head over to jayfranze.com. Now, let's get started. Did you purposely set out to develop what's now known as California Country?
You know, I didn't. I feel like it's the California Country sound, I feel like originated from the whole Bakersfield type of sound. That's what I envision California Country, but the more that artists, especially from California, do country music, I feel like it's kind of evolving in a different way. Because I feel like you have your typical Nashville sound, which is so cool. But then from being out here, I listen to so many different types of music. Like where I'm from, it's very country oriented. Like everybody has horses. That is our thing. That's what we're known as. Horsetown, USA. It's also called Norco. But then it's like I go down to the beach and I listen to so many different other types of music. And then I go to LA and then it's more pop, R&B, rap, rock, a little bit of everything. And so I feel like I'm in a way kind of able to take the California sound because of so many different genres and put them all into one. I feel like that's the way at least I describe it. I don't know if anyone else has the same view, but that's the way I feel about it.
Well, I think it's very unique. I mean, when you started, what made you choose country in the first place?
So originally I did pop music beforehand, but that was from when I was about 10 years old to 16. I was in a girl group at a very young age called the 5 LPs or the 5 Little Princesses, and we wore pink tutus out to the side. We were a Christian pop girl group with knee-high bedazzled Converse, full dance. All the other girls were professional dancers, but I was primarily the singer of the group, and so that's where I got into the music industry and was introduced into pop music. Because before that, it was a little bit of everything. It was just, your typical Taco Tuesday, also have karaoke that night. And so I'd sing some Pat Benatar, Heartbreaker, like some Kelly Clarkson. It was one of those two, always. And so when I got into the music industry, I never knew that the music industry existed also. I thought it was just like you were on Disney Channel and then you became like a big star. I just thought that's how it was. And I was like, I'm never going to be one of those people. So but I did try, I will say that. Didn't quite work. Obviously, I'm here.
Yeah, it's such a bad term.
Darn it. No, it was so, I didn't realize that the whole music industry existed. And so when I fell into it, it was everything that I dreamt of and more. And so when I was in the girl group, I learned everything from writing to rehearsing to playing shows, recording, everything along those lines. And I fell in love with it. I just loved working and being present all the time around these professional individuals. And it made me really motivated. And so I continued on that path from the girl group as it ended. I think I was about 12 or 13. And I continued on with pop music because that's what I knew. And then it kind of got to the point where I was about 16 years old, and I grew up listening to country music because of where I'm from. Like, you can't go anywhere without listening to it. And so I got to 16 years old, and I kind of made the decision. I got to a point where I was like, I loved the music that I was making, but it just wasn't who I was. I was trying to be something that I wasn't. I was trying to fit in and be cool when I was not the cool kid. I was quite the opposite. And so
Well, to be fair, even at 16, it's still hard to know who you are.
100%, but I felt like, at least in music-wise, I wanted to be taking a step in the direction that I thought that's where my heart was. And I think the more that I grow up and I went on The Voice and I met so many incredible people. And then I remember I talked to Kelly Clarkson and she was telling me, she was like, there was one thing that she told me at the end, I want to say was my top 24 performance. And she really explained, not even explained, I remember this like almost verbatim. It was at the end of the day, you have to go home and look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm proud of you. And you have to be happy with the music that you're going to be creating because you're going to be singing this for the rest of your life. And that really stuck with me. And I don't want to be singing about things that I can't understand. That was a big thing. And I wanted to speak about certain things in my music. And it was just kind of unheard of in pop music. And so I made the decision ultimately to make the switch in the country. And it was the best decision ever because I feel like, especially with nowadays, country music has kind of changed in different ways. There's a lot of different influences. Not to say that's for worse or for better, but it's just different than what it is.
It's influenced pop and rock at this point.
Yeah. Exactly. And so I felt like I'm able to kind of do it all. And that was the big thing for me. But I love that country music is just about stories. And that's my favorite part about it. I remember somebody told me country music is for real people. And that hit home for me because I was like, I like this. That's what I want to do. I want to write music for people that are going through something or living their life. And they have some situation that happens, whether it's good or bad, but there's a song for it. And that's what I want to do. So that's when I made the switch in the country. Sorry, that was a long explanation.
All right, one more time and we're going to have to just kick you out.
All right, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no.
I'll shorten it.
You brought up The Voice and Kelly Clarkson, and so let's just dive a little bit deeper into it. I mean, that's very impressive, especially for somebody 16 years old at the time. So how did you even find out about it and get involved in the first place?
I remember I was about 13 when I want to say The Voice had reached out to me like through Instagram or something, but I wasn't able to go on the show because it was 16 or 15 at the time. And then they reached out again when I was 14 and I still wasn't able to. And I was like, oh my gosh. But I'm really glad that I didn't go on it then because I was still figuring myself out.
Right.
You know, but by 16, they had reached out one last time and I was like, you know what? I feel like at this point in time, I can hang with the big dogs. I'm going to be going against people who have been doing music longer than I've been alive, that have been singing, have been playing, recording, writing, all of it. But I feel like I can hang with them and I can be there with them and be present and learn so much from it. And so I ended up doing like a private audition, which I'm very fortunate for because I did not have to do the cattle call. I've done a few of those in my lifetime for the Disney stuff and it did not work out. And I was like, I don't want to wait 4 hours.
Right.
That's me being spoiled.
Right.
I know I am. I'm fine with it. But I went in and I felt like, I want to say it was around May of 2017, 2018. I think it was 2018. And I went in, I sang a song and they were like, okay, great, cool. And that's it. That's all they said. And I was like,
good enough.
Oh, thanks for your time. So I walked off and then they were like, oh, like you made it to the next round. And then I felt like every month after May till I want to say about October-ish, there was like another round or another month that I had to go back and do something, which was really cool. I didn't realize how much actually went into the whole casting process. And then when I got on the show, it was so much fun. I remember being there and I still had to go to school. I had the set teacher and so I was still there doing my homework and then I would go off, I'd go to rehearsals and then I would go to interviews and wardrobe and more rehearsals and it was every single day and it was the most amount of fun because I met so many incredible people I still talk to this day, and there's some of them are like my best friends. Like I was literally on the phone with like 2 of them earlier, which I think is so cool. That might have been the best part about it. Not the best part, but the best part about it, that the relationships
Right.
afterward. Remember, I felt so prepared for the audition, and it was like almost a month before I was there, and I was practicing, and I was like, you know what? I feel good. Like I don't have anything to worry about. Like I'm gonna leave my heart on stage and see where it goes. And then I remember it was my turn. There's like double doors that open up and I was still feeling good. I was up at 3:30 that day, got 3 hours of sleep because I went to bed at midnight, just exhausted. But I woke up and I was like, I'm refreshed. Was not refreshed. But I remember I was standing there and the doors open and I was like, I got this. And I start walking, like my knees started to buckle and I was all, oh God. And I'm wearing heels and then there's stairs to get up. And so I start to walk up and my whole thought process now is out the window. I'm like worried about if I'm going to trip,
Right.
I'm going to fall and eat it. And they're going to turn around and be like, is she okay? Not pudding. I want you on my team. But thank God, made it up the stairs, easy peasy. And I started singing and I remember I heard like the first note and then it all went kind of blank because I was just so focused and like the adrenaline and the nerves kicked in. And I'm not a nervous person. And like usually when I play, I don't get too nervous. But this time it definitely did. I think because it really counted for something. It wasn't just I could perform and walk away. There was something in it.
Right. And you sang Stone Cold, right?
Yes, I sang a Demi Lovato song, and that one, if you know the song, it starts off really low, and I was also terrified of me not hitting the low note because I'd be so nervous. So I like had to change it up and then go back down to the low note so I could just kind of ease into it. But then I remember I got to like a high note, like a little like falsetto moment, and Kelly Clarkson turned her chair, and I was just like, okay, my life is made. I'm good. I'm happy now. I could die
Nothing
happy.
else matters.
Exactly.
I always wondered that, right? As soon as you see one chair turn, all of a sudden now do you just feel at ease?
Oh, 100%. I mean, you're still striving for the other
Right.
three,
But still.
as soon as you get one, you can just relax. And you can really sit in the moment and just take it all in. And so that's what I did. Except I really wanted to do like a dance on stage. I'm not going to lie. As soon as she turned her chair and I was like, I can't do this. This is TV. there's no doing this again. And so I made it through the song and I was just in awe. I mean, Kelly Clarkson she was my top choice. Like I love Blake and I love Adam and I love John Legend. But I think as someone who loves powerhouse vocals, Kelly Clarkson embodies that. She could sing the damn phone book and I would be happy about it. She's just so incredible at everything she does. It doesn't matter what genre, what style of song, what she's singing. It always is almost perfect. And that was a big thing for me. And she was so real. Right. And that was also really cool. Because she was part of the reason why I feel like I first started singing. I would always sing her songs because of you. Like every little talent show or TV show, talent show near my hometown that I auditioned for, it was always her song Because of You. And she was like my first concert ever. It was just a full circle moment. And that was like really cool because people are always like, don't meet your idols. But then you meet Kelly Clarkson and you're like, I'm so glad I did because she was incredible, like one of the most genuine human beings, and she genuinely cares for her team, which was really cool to see.
And you mentioned the fear of the low note, and I know in your song Me and You hit a low note in that song. The range in that song going from low to high, it's pretty impressive, so I don't think you have any reason to fear a low note. So what was your most surreal moment being on The Voice?
I think for me there's a few. I think getting to see the full production, but I'm a sucker for production. I'm not going to lie. I grew up doing a lot of also theater. And so to see everything behind the scenes, like all the working parts was really cool. Like everything from like wardrobe to interviews to the cast and crew that like take you to and from places. Like it was just, there were so many moving parts that I never expected. But no, the biggest one though, I would say it didn't happen at The Voice. It was directly after The Voice. I got kicked off, I think, at top 24, and then I got brought back out for the finale. And that was the thing that I really wanted to do. I was like, I don't care if I'm kicked off beforehand, but I just want to be in the finale because that is full production, like everything, like props, you got sets, you got like things like that, everything. And so I got to sing I Just 17 with 3 other ladies, and they were incredible. And so I remember we were doing the song, and then I came off stage, I was starting to walk off stage, and Kelly came up to me and was talking to me for a bit. And she had asked me, oh, like, hey, like, what are you doing on Friday? I have a show out in Vegas, and I know you're from here. It's not too far. Do you want to come out and sing with me? And I was like, huh?
Let me see what's on my calendar.
Like commercial breaks running right now, and I'm like, I got like a minute and a half to speak to her. I said no. No, I'm just kidding. No, I said yes. And so like 3 days later, I went out. My parents and we all drove out. And it happened to be my birthday, my 17th birthday, which was really cool. And so she brought me out like a birthday cake on stage and sang me happy birthday. And then I got to sing Because of You with her. And it was just, that was the most surreal, like pinch me moment. I never in a million years would think that would happen.
No, but dear God, you blew it out of the water. It was awesome. I mean, she even said it herself that you sang it better than she did. I mean, that's got to make you feel good, doesn't it? What do you feel like when that happens?
I definitely felt like a winner. I will say that. I am really, really hard on myself. I feel like as a perfectionist and as an artist, you can be. But in that moment of time, I was unstoppable. I was like, yeah, I know I'm cool right now. It was one of those things.
But you were only 17 at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, your 17th birthday, you were barely 17.
I always made a joke. I remember sitting backstage and I was with my dad and I was like, this was my 17th birthday. How are we going to top it next year? We never did. No. I'm 21 now. We never topped it. That is the peak of birthdays of all time.
Again, though, I mean, that was a last minute invite. You put it together last minute. You're doing a duet with her. I mean, how do you even arrange it that quick? Not the logistics. Arrange the performance.
It was so crazy. She was like, okay, I'll text you. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, yeah, girl.
I've got Kelly on speed dial.
I remember I got the message and I was so nervous to reply. Because like I don't look up, like I look up to a lot of artists. But Kelly Clarkson was like the one for me.
Yeah.
You know, like when you become starstruck, she's the one for me. And so I told my mom that she had texted me like 20 minutes later. She's like, what did she say back? I said, I haven't. She was like, are you freaking crazy? Reply back to that woman now. I'm like, she's a normal person, Mom. Like, she gets it. People are busy. And she's like, you're not. Go do it.
You're not that busy.
Yeah. And so I replied, and then it all worked out. And then it was just so much fun. I showed up for a rehearsal earlier that day, and I think it was at the Venetian. And I walked in, the theater was giant, and I was like, this is so cool. And we just started singing the song. She was like, how do you want to do this? And I was like, I don't know, you tell me. I'm like, it's your song, girl. And she was like, well, I would let you sing the full thing. I sing this almost every single night, and I really want to hear your version of it because I know that you've been singing this since you were like 7. And I was like, this is a lot of pressure.
Well, she gave you a lot of freedom too. I mean, you did the verses on your own.
Yeah. And she is just the most kind-hearted woman I have ever met. It was just beyond belief that would ever happen. Like that was, I say her turning her chair was full circle. That was the full circle moment.
Were you nervous that night?
No, I was so excited.
That's awesome.
I was a little nervous just because, you know, when you're singing with Kelly Clarkson, she's going to out-sing you on everything. It doesn't matter who you are.
Well, I will tell you, you did hold your own. I mean, she said you beat her. Oh, and that could be a true statement. That note at the end, holy cow, you hit the power note right at the end. I almost turned my chair around. I was like, where's the buzzer? No, I mean, it was awesome. You did a fantastic job.
Thank you.
All right, so you get back to your hotel. What's the conversation like?
Oh, it was like, what the hell just happened? like this isn't normal. And so we went back out and like, I think we got dinner later that night. And then one of my other friends was out there from The Voice. And so they were like, oh, we're all hanging out. We're all at the slot machines. And I was like, I can't 17. Do that. Never have I ever wanted to be 21 more in my life at that point. Otherwise, I was fine with it. I was like, I just want to hang out with everybody. We just went back to the room. I think my parents left my sister and we just hung out in the room, and I called all of my friends and I sent all the videos to everybody. And I was like, because what else can you do? You're 17 in Vegas. Like,
right. You mentioned being starstruck. You're not usually starstruck except for Kelly Clarkson. I could relate to that because the people that made me feel starstruck were the people who produced the music, the producers, the engineers. Those are the ones that I looked up to because, like yourself being a singer, you look up to Kelly Clarkson. Myself being an engineer and producer, I looked up to Bob Bullock. So when I had the opportunity to go work with Bob, to me, that was like you going to sing with Kelly. So I can definitely understand that feeling. But let's continue on. That same day you sang with Kelly, your single was released. So how did that feel?
It was so crazy because I felt like I was coming off of like this high of doing The Voice. I got to sing with Kelly, and then my song came out, and then it was everything after that. I started playing shows right away. It was just so, I love being busy. I think that's a big thing for me. I love busy work. I love having like if you saw my schedule every day, it's like lined up for like the hours. And I try to follow it. It doesn't always happen sometimes, but it's so. That's why I said you're very organized, and I appreciate it earlier. No, it was just so crazy because as somebody who never thought they would be doing music, I thought I was going to be playing soccer my entire life. I come from a soccer family, thought I was going to go to college for soccer, the goal was to play for the U.S. women's national team, and then all of a sudden for that to switch, and then be able to do the things that I looked up to like all these artists for, and to know that I was also doing the same thing, that was really weird and really strange. But I am so grateful for all of it.
Well, that single that was coming out was Me and You, and that's the one I talked to you about, the low note. Let's talk about the writing. Did you write the song?
I wrote little bits of it. I walked into I met this producer named Adam Watts, and they had a song. They were writing a song like that in there, and they're like, "We think this could be for you." And so I listened to it, and I fell in love with it. And most of the song's already written, but then I started to put my input in on the very ending of the song. I think it was more towards the bridge. But I thought that was a really cool song, especially. At 17, there's not much you can really speak about. There's not many life experiences. And I know for myself, at 17 years old, like I said, I was not the cool kid. I did not have very many life experiences. You would think that my parents sheltered me, but it was all by choice. But I was still able to relate to it in a way. And that was a really big thing for me. And especially like hearing my friends and their relationships. And I was like, what would I say if I were in their shoes? I remember I sat down and we finished up the song, and I was like, this is exactly how I would respond in this situation. And I think that was really cool. That was a big moment, especially like, in the beginning though. So I fell hard, a little too far. Oh, that part where I was like, I was high on the drug I do. And I was like, I can't say that. And they're like, you're fine. It's a song. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, are you sure? And they're like, this is one of the timeless pieces, Presley, that when you sing it in 5 years, you might relate to it. And I was like, okay. But if you read the stuff I was writing before, you'd be like, who is this girl? Like, when I say I was trying to be something that I was trying to be something that I wasn't. And that's why I made the switch. And I'm very, very thankful for it. I was able to grow up at my own pace. And I was fine with that.
Well, that's the song I was also talking about, too. That really showcased your range. I mean, you hit the low note. And you also had some high notes and some falsetto in there. So, I mean, did you have a part in the melody itself?
Yeah, they gave me a lot of creative control on most of it, which I thought was really cool. I mean, obviously, when you're writing a song, you have an idea of where the melody is. If not, you already have the idea. But then when I started learning it, I was like really diving into it. I kind of started playing around with it, and they're like, yeah, do that. Like, do what you want with it. Make it your own, because if you're the artist, you got to sing what you want to sing.
Absolutely.
And that was really cool.
So the writers, were they also the producers at that time?
Yeah, so there were two writers and Adam Watts. So it was Adam Watts and another gentleman, but Adam produced everything as well, which was cool because we sat down, and when we were writing the song, we started laying things out and started putting it down on the track, which I think was really cool. And then we kind of finalized the product as we were going. So there was no room for error, but also allowed us to make mistakes and fix them as needed.
Was this big studio time or small studio time for you?
This was, I would say at this point, this was big studio time, literally and figuratively. I think before I was singing in a closet. I called it Shoebox Studios because another producer that I worked with, all of his clothes were right next to me in his shoeboxes. And it was maybe 2 feet by I wouldn't say 2 feet, 3 feet by 5 feet. It was pretty small. But when you have half of it taken up by clothes, it's just great for soundproofing.
Right.
I would say that. But
The
so when I
acoustics
walked
were
in,
wonderful. The smell,
yeah, it was really hot in there. No, but this one, it was full studio time, big studio, recording booth.
What studio was it?
It was over at Adam Watts's place. So when it was over, I want to say, in Brea somewhere. He had his own personal studio, which was nice because I didn't have to drive all the way to LA. And it took me 2.5 hours, 3 hours to get home today. But it took me 3 hours to get home today, and I was like, okay, this is awesome. So I didn't have to drive that far back then. And it was really close, and it was just easy, and it was nice, and working with them was fantastic.
What kind of a producer was he?
He was very involved. I love working with producers that isn't afraid to tell me how it should be fixed. I'm a perfectionist, like I said earlier, but also there is a beauty in it not being so perfect all the time. And so when I can get a certain way where I'm like, I need to redo that. And I redo it over and over and over again, and it sounds the exact same.
Right.
And they're like, this is how it's supposed to sound then. That's just what it is. There's something special about it. And so he was really hands-on with that and helping me and guiding me and directionally challenging me, I will say too, at the same time, because I want somebody who challenges me. Because I know, when you are by yourself, it's the same thing with songwriting. When you write by yourself, it's great and it's personal, but also you're only limited to your own mind. That's why it's wonderful getting to work with other people, because it opens you up to another whole way of thinking. And that's the same thing I feel like working with producers. If someone just sits there and clicks the record button and throws a little reverb, then it's what's the benefit for any of us?
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's good that you not only had a good producer, but you had somebody who was willing to have an open mind and work with you. So if he's also one of the writers, was the song already tracked when you went in, or did you get to participate in the tracking session as well?
The song was pretty much tracked when I walked in. There was a few things that he added, but nothing too crazy. That's why when I walked in, he was like, we think we have a song for you. And I listened to it and I was like, yeah, yes you do.
Yeah, you do. I like it. So that's good. And then you got to, like I said, showcase your voice and sing a melody that had a lot of range to it. So when it was done and ready to go and it gets released, how'd that feel?
That was a really cool moment. I feel like because of the fact that it was one of the first songs that I released right after The Voice. I'd released songs prior to, but then it just wasn't me. And so when I finally started releasing songs that felt like me, it was just 10 times more special because I believed in it. That was a big thing. Because I remember this was another thing that Kelly told me, people only believe in you as much as you believe in yourself.
True story.
And so I remember I listened to that, and when I released that song, it was I'm proud of this. I love this song for what it is. And I am excited to see its path and see its journey, whether I still sing it in 10 years or whether I don't. But it's in this moment of time, I was extremely happy with it. And I still am. I look back at it, and there's things that I would do differently now, but that's me as a person as I get older and I grow. Yeah. But it was just it was really cool to see a project that I was really receptive of. And I was like, I understand this. I believe this. I want to put my full foot forward on this. It was one of those things.
That's awesome. The song also had a video, and it also showcased your acting. Do you feel as if you have some acting chops?
No, I do not. It was so funny because we were trying to find somebody, because at this point I've never had a boyfriend. I've never even liked anybody. I was so to myself. And so I was just very focused on my work. So I never, I've never even like held hands with anybody. I don't call it a loser because you know what? I was fine with it. But most people would call me a loser. And all my friends, they were like, Presley, why don't you get a boyfriend? I was like, I don't want one. Stop trying to say it louder in the back. You guys are making me feel so good about myself right now. And so if we were trying to find somebody, this is what we're trying to get at, trying to find somebody that I'd be comfortable with. But mind you, this person is like family to me. Like I've grown up with them my entire life. They used to babysit me growing up. And I was like, we got to do this. Like we got to put our best acting skills forward. And it was just the most awkward thing ever. I have now since grown. I could do the same thing now and be totally fine. But at that time, I was like, we have to hold hands. Like I have to hug him. Like I was like, boys have cooties. I was still believing that. But
That's
it was
awesome.
Yeah, my acting skills were not the greatest. And so I did take acting lessons afterwards to get used to it and kind of break the ice. Because I was like, this needs to be fixed. I was also homeschooled.
Wife, homeschool, kid. Got it. Next.
Oh my goodness.
All right, we've taken a left. Let's move back onto this. 600 Miles, your latest single. Let's talk about that for a little bit. Did you have any say in the writing in that song?
Yes. So I actually wrote a different version of the song beforehand, and it was very specific to the situation that I was in. At that point, I did have a boyfriend. So, I was starting to write off of life experiences. Granted, I think we saw each other 4 times out of like 6 months, 8 months. So it was one of those things because, everyone goes to school, goes to college. And I wrote the song and I was like, oh yeah, I'm so depressed, so sad. But also at the same time, I was like, I just wasn't going through. Like, might as well write about it. It's like my journal. And so I wrote the song, and it was very specific to the region. And I was like, I can't put this out there knowing that he might listen to it. Granted, nowadays I'd be like, no, I don't care. You live and learn. Like you're dating somebody who writes songs. Like, what do you expect? It's like Taylor Swift. If you don't want a song about you,
I was going to bring it up, but I let it go. I'm a Swiftie. Fine. Okay, I admit it.
Exactly.
First step is admitting it.
I was going to say something else, but you know what? We're not going to go there. Anyways, and so I wrote the song and I brought it into a write, and I was like, I had half the song written. So I brought it into a write and I said, hey, like, what do you guys think about this? And I walked in and they're like, oh yeah, this is really cool, but we should change it up. And I was like, okay, like, what are you thinking? And they're like, let's make it like more current. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And so we kind of switched the process of it, and they told me to read down what I had, and they kept everything pretty much the same. And then we got the second verse, and that's when we really started going into it. And they were like, we just want more real estate in it, more image, because when you listen to it right now, you can feel the feeling, but you can't picture it. And that's a really big learning moment for me, because I was writing songs off of feeling, and I was like, there's key components that I was missing. And so we switched it, and then 600 Miles came to be. It was like, I felt like we wrote the song, the entirety of it, in less than like 2 hours, which was really cool. And then I was like, oh yeah, like I have this song. And so I was still with the boyfriend at the time, and I think I sent it to him. And I was like, well,
here we go.
What did you expect?
I don't know. He wasn't flattered?
Oh, he was. But then he also thought I wrote other songs about him, and I did not. And I was like, I'm so sorry to break your heart. But I wrote the sad song, and not the love song. The love song was written before you, because I sent him a few at that time. But it was quite funny, and I was like, I haven't talked to him since, but hope that he's doing well.
Nice.
And at least he knows he has one song about him.
I'm again laughing. I took my 9-year-old to dance class, and I played the song in the car on our way. She was playing her Taylor Swift and Olivia Rodrigo and stuff, and then I turned this on, and she just listened to it. And then as it comes to an end, she goes, you can add that one to my playlist. I said, oh,
I love her.
Yeah, all right. Let's just do that for you.
I got the approval.
Who produced that one?
That one was Nick Autry. I wrote the song with him, but then Jeff Huskins did all the producing.
All right, and was that in a big studio as well?
Yes, that was a big studio. That one was one of the first that I really got to, and it was like full soundboard. The entire band was in there as I was tracking, and I had my own little vocal booth. It was so crazy. That was also the first time that I tracked with a band.
Yeah.
And that was also another crazy experience. I just remember tracking was something that was so crazy to me because they just listened to like a little work tape or like a demo or something, and then all of a sudden they just say, "Hey, what do you want it to sound like?"
Right.
And I'm like, "What do you mean?" They're like, "What song do you like right now that you wish it kind of sounds like, or like takes inspiration from?" And so I don't remember what I said for it. I think I might have just said have fun with it because I didn't know.
Right.
And I look at their sheet and it's just like a bunch of numbers, and I was like, they're talking a different language right now. That's what this is. And so I go into the studio, I start like, tinkering around, getting all their levels, and then they just play the song. And I'm like, what? It was magic. It was literally happened before my eyes, and it was nothing into something, and not even something. It was nothing into the final product within 3.5 minutes.
Yep.
And then they go back and they're like, "Oh, I didn't like bar 32. Like, can I redo that part?" And I'm like, bar 32? How can you count that fast? Like, it was a stupid joke. Sorry, I make a lot of those. I apologize. But it was like one of those things where I was like, you guys are, like, they're geniuses.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, Chris Lusinger, one of the greatest guitar players, he was Bob Bullock's go-to guitar player. And we were going into the studio in Emerald Studios in Nashville, and we were recording a song for Travis Tritt. And I was in there setting up, and the first person to show up was Travis Tritt. Walked in, "Hey, Jay, how you doing?" I turned around, I'm like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "Do you have a place I can go?" He's holding an acoustic guitar to write the song real quick. I said, "Write what song?" He goes, "Oh, the one we're going to track today." I'm like, "Yeah, you can go into this room over here." And I kid you not, an hour later, the musicians show up. Chris Lusinger sits down, Travis puts his leg up, puts his guitar on his knee, and Chris pulls out a piece of paper. Travis plays it, Chris writes it, we make copies, they go out in the room, 3 minutes later, the song's done.
It's like a different way of thinking. I just don't understand it. And it's like they just come up with hook lines and things like that right off the bat. And I'm like, you guys are crazy. Just crazy. That's what it is.
Oh, yeah, it's absolutely
But
insane.
it's good crazy. It's good crazy.
It's good crazy, but it's crazy nonetheless. And I guess if you don't ever get to experience it, you don't know. I worked in the Northeast in Boston and New York, and it was great. We tried things. We experimented. We'd go in the studio late at night versus early in the morning. Nashville's early in the morning, and everything's really in the system there. I mean, it's just that type of environment. Do you remember what the name of the studio was?
It was over at Soundstage.
Soundstage.
Yes, right next to Ronnie's place.
Yeah. So this was in Nashville then.
Yes.
So Soundstage is Chuck Ainley's studio, one of the best in the world. And it is right next to Ronnie Millsap's studio. So very cool.
I remember I walked into that one first, not realizing that they were different places. And I was like, oh, this is so cool.
Do you know what room you were in at Soundstage?
I know it was the very back one. So if you go in the back entrance, it was the first room on the left.
Chuck Ainley's room. You mentioned the full console. It's a full SSL console. And I mean, that's the man. If you could have anybody track a song, that's the man to do it. That song also had a video. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, that was just shot, I think, down the street. Not even I think. I know it is down the street. And I remember we were driving by for something else. And I was like, what is this? Hidden Valley Park? I was like, we have a park here? Like, not just a little, like, park. It was, like, almost like National Park Reserve type thing, but not National Park. And so we drive through it, and I was like, this is really cool. I was like, why don't we ever shoot a video here? It's right basically in our backyard. We don't have to go far. And so we just did it, and it was my mom and I a lot of the time trying to put things together. And I was like trying to teach her how to use the camera. It worked, but it worked for the time being, but the cameras are really tricky. I'm still trying to figure them out. But it was, I don't know, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of bonding moments for her and I will say.
That's
I think
awesome.
my sister also did part of it because it was her camera, and she was like, "You aren't doing it right." And we're like, "Then help us out here."
I'll say if this is a family effort putting this video together, your family did a great job. I mean, I wouldn't have guessed it was a family effort, but so that song, it's out. How's it doing?
It's doing great. It has been really crazy. I dropped that EP 600 Miles, and there was 6 songs on there, and that just felt like a journal. That was one of those things where it just was like, this was like a chapter in my life. That during this time, I think it was from 2020 to, I would say like 2019 through 2022. That's when I started writing, recording, and then cutting, and then releasing. I just felt like it was like you're reading entries in my diary or something. Like I use a diary all the time. I mean, I try to every once in a while, but it doesn't always end up there. It ends up in my notes on my phone because I'm like, I'm so angry. I need to get this out. Put it out there, and I'm like, delete it. Never see it again. What was I even angry about? I was angsty, apparently. Yeah, I just put it out there, and I was like, this is the chapter. Like, I'm ready as I grow and I get older. I feel like I've learned more life experiences, and I'm able to talk about that, and I want to get into that while also not reminiscing too much on the past. But that's also, it's really cool because it was like, that was a chapter of my life. I just graduated high school. I just got off The Voice. I'm starting to play shows like really consistently, and not just like little bar gigs. Like I was playing big shows, which was really crazy. I knew I wanted to put something out there, and I was like, this is like the perfect timing for it. And so I titled it the EP 600 Miles because of that, because I was like, this journey that I've been on, it feels like it's been so long, yet so fun, but so short at the same time. And I can't wait to see where it goes from here, because I mean, even within this past year, there has been so much music that has been written. And I'm out in Nashville about once a month for a week to 2 weeks, I would say, on average. And all I'm doing is writing, and then plus meetings and things like that now. But before that, it was just like, what is the next step? What's the next level that I can get to? How can I push myself outside of the comfort zone?
You mentioned earlier singing with Kelly Clarkson, but you've had an opportunity to sing with some others. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so I have gotten to open up for a lot of incredible artists or share the stage with them, like Blake Shelton, Tim McGraw, Dustin Lynch, Tyler Rich, Carly Pearce, Bright Young. I know there's more, but it was just so crazy because I looked up to these people for a really, really long time. Like, that's what I want. How do I get there? And it's inspiring.
Again, you've played with some of the greats, and to do that at such a young age has been very, very impressive. So congratulations to you, and I can't wait to see where this all goes. But I want to go back a step or 6, and you have also had the opportunity to sing the national anthem, which terrifies most people. And you've done it at least 3 times. So you've done one early for the LA Sparks. You were 13 years old. What's going through your mind at that time?
That was one of the biggest things that I had done at that point. So that was really nerve-wracking. Like, I sang the national anthem at, like baseball games and things like that, but for not to that scale. But I have been singing the national anthem. I've probably sang the national anthem now over, I would say probably about 150 times, if not more, maybe 200. Just either to, number one, get my name out there, or it's for a cause that I really believe in, or for something that I really, really want to stand by and show my support at in any way that I can. But for the national anthem, for that one, that was one of the biggest, like, at that point in time, one of the biggest scales that it has ever been on. And that was really cool. Especially at 13 years old, I was like, this doesn't happen. But also it kind of did in a way. I was homeschooled. And so everyone I was surrounded by was doing a lot cooler things than I was. I was in the industry. I was like in the influencer industry, and everybody was either actors or singers or dancers, and they're all on TV or touring with artists. I was proud of that.
You killed it at 13.
Thank you. No, but it was so much fun, and like getting to hang out with everybody. The LA Sparks honestly became like family to me. I became part of like the We Are Girls campaign, which was a bunch of girls that were anywhere from 10 to 18. There was a few of us ambassadors, and so it was myself and a couple other girls, and we all just kind of did like different things, different activities with people who, whether it was like as simple as a class or like something, or like a dance class, and that was like a normal thing that the LA Sparks did. And it was to help influence other girls. And so I did that. And then they let me sing national anthem. And then I got halftime shows with them. It was just so crazy.
Well, I saw you also did it with the San Diego Padres a couple times anyway, and that was later. But the reason I bring it up is not just because you did it again or even for a national baseball team like that. But you can see the progress and how your style changed over those years. And that's only a short period of time, but your style did change. The first one, you, with all the confidence in the world, at 13 years old, you belted out that song and you did it in a way that most people wouldn't. You sat back on it and you performed it. You didn't rush it. You actually performed it and you sang it the way it was intended to be sung. And when I say that, I mean with all the confidence in the world, not necessarily stylistic. But then as you progressed and sang it for the Padres, you could see how your style came into it at that point. So now you're not only singing it, but now you're adding your own personal style to it. Do you feel like you're doing that, or to you is it just all blending together?
I think if I was just thinking about right now, like in this moment of time right now, I wouldn't think anything of it because that's the normal way that I would sing it. But when you do look back and then you see kind of like the progress and things like that, first started to where it is now, you can definitely tell that it's not just me singing the song. Like I'm singing the song as myself, an artist, not myself, the 13-year-old that is still trying to figure herself out. Like there's a lot more confidence, I feel like, is the big thing that comes into it. Also, making sure it's traditional. I don't know. A lot of people have different opinions about the anthem, but for myself, I love keeping it traditional because the song really, truly means something, at least to myself. And I want to make sure that is translated because sometimes simpler is better. I wouldn't say all the time because you know what? Some people can sing their ass off and run and riff and all that. And I'm like, oh, give it to me. And so I think the big thing for me is just keeping it traditional, but while also making it my own. Because it can sound just simple, oh, say, can you see? Like it could just be straight in who it is, but when it's tailored to you, but while also keeping it traditional, that's when it becomes, it changes over time.
All right. You've led this path and it's happened over a fairly quick period of time. But over that period of time, you've had to have learned some lessons. What's the biggest lesson you've learned to this point?
The biggest lesson that I have learned would be, well, number one, don't try to be anything that you aren't. It'll always backfire, always. And this is kind of all within the same realm, but you have to be who you are to no end. Like just be who you are, because it can get really tiring trying to be something that you aren't. And make sure what you're doing, you give your all in it. If it doesn't work out, but you gave your all, at least you can say you tried, and then you go on and you continue to do the next thing and try something else. I was never afraid to try anything. I was like, yeah, I'll give it a shot. If somebody was like, change it up, I'd be like, okay, I'll give it a shot. And if I don't like it, then, or it doesn't work, then I just go exactly back to what I was doing before. What's the harm in it?
Well, on that note, then, what's next?
A lot of new music is coming very soon. I'm getting into the studio this next trip that I'm back in Tennessee, which I'm very excited for. I've been going out to Tennessee for the past 3-4 years. Yeah, I've been writing a lot of music, especially within this past year, because I've been going out there once a month, and I've been working with incredible people and meeting other writers and artists. And so there's a lot to expect from this year. And then I will be playing a bunch of shows out in California, as well as slowly starting to work my way over, which I am really, really excited for. I love writing and I love recording, but performing I absolutely love. And getting to share the new songs with everyone, that's what I'm most excited for.
That's awesome. That's a great answer. Can't let you go until we talk about your endorsements. Let's make sure that you keep your endorsements. Let's talk about Ernie Ball first.
Yeah, they have been incredible. I absolutely love everything that they have to do. I saw a few of them over at NAMM this weekend, so I was like, this was a special moment. I finally get to hang out with everyone.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the best guitar makers in the world, Taylor Guitar.
Yes, and I have my little baby right next to me. I was like playing it earlier. I need to change the strings and clean her up. She looks like she's had a beating.
Call Ernie on the phone and say, hey, get me some strings.
Exactly. No, I have a few extra spare packs just in case. But I was like, I haven't played a show. I don't need to do it just quite yet. Like, I'll just let him get to the point where I might need a tetanus shot. But yeah, no, I love my Taylor, and I got to see the Taylor family out there, so I'm very, very excited. That's why I love NAMM. It's just reconnecting with everybody.
Taylor, to me, is the best acoustic to cut when you're in the studio. It just cuts right through all the electric instruments and just has a shimmer on top of it. It's just really an amazing guitar.
It's like the sprinkle added on top, and it's like,
It's like the sparkles on your Converse.
All the bedazzles.
All right, my friend, we do this thing here we call Unsung Heroes, where we take a moment to shine the light on somebody who may have helped you behind the scenes. It could be a family member, it could be somebody in the industry. Is there anybody that you'd like to shine a little light on?
That would definitely be my family and my team that's out in Nashville. My family has been with me through everything, has seen the good, the bad, the ugly, the lot better looking version of myself where I'm like, okay. And they have been there for every single bit of the ride. They are at almost every single show, if they aren't at every single show. And I'm so grateful for that. And my mom, she used to come out with me all the time to Nashville, but now that, I got my little system down, I've been going out there by myself for the past year, and she's like, I want to come back. And I'm like, you can, but you're just going to be sitting there doing nothing all day while I'm working.
That's not nothing for a parent.
I think she might be coming back out this next trip for CRS. And I'm like, I hope she is. And now we have family out there. So it's really nice. And then my team out in Nashville with Burning Ground and Core PR, because it has been a dream getting to work with them. They have been nothing but amazing. Like, I mean, I feel like I work very hard for myself, but they work really damn hard. And that's really cool to see, because it's really hard to find people that want you to win. And so to have that and to have the support, and I mean, they're like my best friends now. Like, half the time, my manager and I were always like sharing a hotel room, and we're like, so what do we do now? Like, we're talking all hours. I'm like, sleep over time, girl. What's on your mind? It's so funny. But I have the best time with them, and they're just the most kind-hearted people, and I love every single one of them over there.
A big thanks to Presley for taking the time to share her stories with us. And as always, thank you for taking the time to hang with me here. I really do appreciate it. Please follow, share, and connect on all the socials. You could even tell a friend. I'd appreciate that too. You can do all this and find the links to everything mentioned over at jfranze.com/episode 50. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to The Jay Franze Show. Make sure you visit us at jfranze.com. Follow, connect, and say hello. This episode has been brought to you by VR Knives, your source for 100% custom knives made by a true rock star. So, if you're in the market for a new piece of art, reach out to VR Knives. 407-421-5528. 407-421-5528.